Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress them on the third date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app today to get free delivery on your first 3 orders, while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
You better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romance in the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, ah, I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning into Romance in the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
And I'm Todd Schlosser, and this week I made you watch Bottoms! Okay, Paige, I know for a fact you saw this in theaters because when you did, you would not shut up about it.
I loved it.
So,
More accurately, I had been trying to make you watch for a long time, and then scheduling dictated we do this today.
Yeah, I do think that on some level you maybe have gaslit me into making the best pick of a movie I've never seen beforehand.
Yeah.
Because, like, I am notorious for picking shit movies I've never seen. And this one, also haven't seen, is not a shit movie. This is a great fucking movie.
Todd, I'm not going to say there's correlation and causation here, but I am going to say that, like, I, because of scheduling and guests,
Sure.
have picked, like, the last 3 movies across both shows, and they have been straight bangers the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's largely because I've been picking stuff that I'm like, well, what do we know will go well? What do I know Todd will like, as we kind of navigate and then get back into our normal bullshit?
Yeah.
And I just have to remember that you have a pop culture block from the time you were in a cult to the time you were in a band, which is just a cult with drums. And so, like...
So, it's so accurate, but still hurtful on some level. Bret Michaels would like a word.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault that sometimes you don't know. And so I've just been trying to pick straight bangers, and I feel like this was another one, and another one, and another one, thank you, and another one.
And if you don't think my band was a cult, we were managed by 7M.
I watched the entire thing.
I couldn't stop myself, Paige.
I know.
Dancing and cults?
Of course.
What are we doing? This is like ChatGPT wrote a cult documentary for me.
Jake had to leave because, so we did a 7M episode on Cult Podcast way back in the day.
Yeah.
With one of the guys that's featured in the documentary.
Was it Concrete? It feels like it'd be Concrete.
No, I love Concrete.
Me too.
I've been following Concrete forever. No, one of the Talking Heads.
Oh, yeah.
And it's actually the clips they use from a documentary he made that is actually really good, and it's on YouTube.
Nice.
Guy named Kyle Anderson. And so I was like, oh my God, Kyle's in a thing. And so when he came on, we did 2 whole episodes of just like hardly any jokes, mostly just information.
Oh.
And I was like, I can't fucking wait for this shit. And we went over all of the like financial crimes of the past. We did not know about a lot of the sexual assault crimes because back when we did the episode, it wasn't public knowledge yet.
Yeah.
So like that, definitely give it a watch. It's Netflix is hit or miss with their documentaries. I think they actually did a really good job on this one.
I think this one hit, man.
Yeah, they focused a lot on the victims and their families and what it is like for people who end up in cults, for the ripples of pain basically out through their families, through the community, through multiple people, and that there's like no legal recourse to help them.
Yeah.
Like it is this horrible gray area where you have to prove the crime and it's really tough to prove the crime, and it just puts the victims through a whole extra set of hoops to jump through, and it's real tough.
It is.
But great documentary. Really, really good.
It is. You guys should check out the doc. It is really great.
Yeah.
But Paige.
We watched Bottoms.
Yes. This movie is so good.
I loved it.
Okay, I'm a dumb little boy. You know this about me. I didn't realize until, I don't know, after she bumps him and he like in his car and he flops on the ground like it's like the English Premier League. It was like after that I realized, oh, this is just like magical realism.
It's complete madness.
And I'm in it. I'm loving that. From that point on, once I realized it was just like magical realism, I was here for it. It felt very, but I'm a cheerleader without the John Waters like aesthetic.
Yes.
But still very like out there. And I loved it.
The heightened realism that has basis in reality, I love, because it's like, it's the worst version of a high school and then take that 2 steps higher. like
a million steps higher. They murder a rival football team at the end and the school's like, yes.
Yes!
You did it. Slow clap. Like, this is an insane fucking movie.
Slay, queen! Slay!
Okay, can we talk about her real quick? Like,
Sylvie's my favorite character.
I think there's some stuff going on in the home that, like, that child needs some services. Her stepdad has got a weird thing, and he just needs to be addressed.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like you could read the stepdad one of 2 ways. Either it's horrific and bad things are happening, or he's just trying to be a good stepdad and she's not having it.
Yeah.
Because he's really into Friday movie nights. We don't know what that means. It could just be Friday movie nights.
Yeah, it could.
Or it could be something dark.
But like there are warning signs, right? Like she has some like built up rage.
Oh, yes.
That like signifies something.
Yeah, who's to say? Honestly, I want her movie next, but I feel like her movie exists in the Crank universe. It's crazy.
Cut to Jason Statham's her stepdad and is actually like a good guy.
Yes.
And they have to go like find someone else who did something bad. I don't know. You write the movie.
I love her. I love Hazel, who has the unfortunate character trait of taking everything literally, but then also knowing how to build bombs effectively.
I don't know. I mean, semi-effectively, I think is probably more accurate. At the end, the bomb doesn't go off nearly when they wanted it to.
It still goes off, though.
You know what? A broken clock bomb is right twice a day, I guess.
Twice a day. Yeah. No, but I enjoyed this very, very much. And I liked it because of that. Because it was the kind of magical realism that we see in like a Better Off Dead.
Yes.
It's like high school through the lens of like the worst version. But I also really like that. I feel like this is structured like a teen sex comedy, almost like a teen sex comedy of the 80s, which was primarily men looking for women. And instead, we have 2 lesbians doing the same. And I kind of love that we flipped the trope.
Yeah.
And you kind of watch them fumble through being awkward teenagers in a school from hell. I also love their top football player, their Jeff, is the guy from Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Did you catch the reference to it?
100.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
so obvious. It's like so obvious. And maybe it's just because like we've done that movie and like sort of love that movie too. But he like walks right under a sign with flowers as he's like reconciling with Isabel, his like the girlfriend he's cheated on again in this movie. Like he walks under a sign and it says like red and blue coming for you.
Yes.
And I was like, hey, he was about to do that movie.
Yes. I love the way they portray the football players in this movie.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Where they're just spoiled babies.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me.
Yeah, it's honestly like one of the most honest portrayals I've seen. The closest to my high school experience. And if they didn't want to get called that, they should have won more than 4 games the entire time I went to high school.
I mean, here's what I'll say. If you've already seen this movie, go back and watch it again and try reading people's shirts and reading the posters on the wall.
Smile. He might be looking at you right now. Paige, it was so fucking funny. Like, everything that is there is intentional.
Yes.
It's thought out and it's perfect. And I love that, like, we are getting, I think, our 2 leads, which are Josie and PJ, we're getting like their shared reality of the world.
Yes.
And that is just a heightened, crazy, like campy mess. And I love that. I think that is so funny. And the movie is so good. And like the emotional moments are like so heartfelt, but still
And
heightened.
very real.
In a way.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's so fun. It's like such a fun way to do it. But I'll say this, like those emotional moments and like the story beats, I would take like just a regular version of that movie. Like it's that good on that level too, that if you gave me what was really reality, I'd probably love that movie too. I still love this.
Yeah, it's if you had none of the background and the trappings of, you know, like John Hughes' worst nightmare.
Yes.
If you didn't have that, the movie would still be good. It would be on par with like an Easy A.
Shit, yeah, I think that would be a good example.
You know?
Just like a lesbian version of that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think one of my favorite little Easter eggs is the magazine that Marshawn Lynch is reading.
This movie is so good. It took us, I don't know, 10 minutes to even fucking mention Marshawn Lynch.
Sean Lynch.
The football player crushes it in this movie.
He does a great job.
I hate it.
He does a great job.
He's so funny.
He's so funny.
Dude, and he even like in his, I guess like ad-libs that are in the credits that didn't make the final cut, they're so funny. Like he just seems like
those are all great.
He has what I will call blade disease. And that's where everything that comes out of your mouth just sounds awesome.
It's a solid gold.
Yeah.
I love the magazine he's reading at the desk when they ask him if he will be the advisor for their club. Just says divorced and horny.
It's got a big butt on it.
That's so good. It's great. I love that we don't meet anybody's parents except that one lady.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Who's banging out that football player.
Oh, that's Mercedes from Count of Monte Cristo back in the day. That's how I remember her.
Yes. I also, this is the first thing I had seen Kaya Gerber in, and I feel like the older she gets, the more I cannot look at her without seeing her mom. Her mom is Cindy Crawford.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
I did not know that, but I definitely see that. That's Brittany in the movie if you guys don't know her, because I didn't know her by that name.
I saw this in theaters, and I was like, who the hell is that? I've seen them before. Who is that? And then I had to go look it up, and I was like, oh, shit. Yeah, no, she looked like her mom. That's why I thought I had seen her before.
Yeah, wild.
Ooh, you're going to get to tell your crazy story on this episode?
Paige, I feel like I built it up too much.
This guy's pants were so green, you have no idea.
Paige, sure, we were in Palm Springs on a golf resort, and I thought, why would he be wearing green pants?
Why?
There's no telling.
Such a crazy thing to do. Palm Springs a week before Pride, no less.
Yeah. No one talked about that. But yeah.
Was it all decked out?
For Pride?
No.
Not at all. I mean, it was hot as fuck. Like, it was terrible out. No one wanted to be out. It was terrible. Also, I didn't really leave the La Quinta Resort that often.
That's fine.
I went to the Coachella, like literally Coachella. I went to like where Coachella is, like the Coachella Park or whatever, and did karaoke. And then I went to a Walgreens to get some sunscreen and some hydration packs for my team because it was so fucking hot. I was like, y'all need to get a drink that tastes like Poseidon spit in your mouth so that like you can hold on to your electrolytes.
It's a dry heat though.
Paige, it's terrible.
Okay, so Palm Springs is where gays go to retire. So like the whole city, LA Pride is this week. It kind of just finished. It was like this past weekend.
Yeah.
And then Palm Springs Pride happens and it's like a week-long thing. But people deliberately go there now when it's hot. Like, people knowing it's hot are like, it's Dinah Shore Fest. We're fucking going.
It's not fit for man nor beast out there. It's so hot. I literally told my team, I will be in the convention center or I will be in my hotel room while the sun is up.
Yeah.
If the sun's behind those mountains, you might catch me out here in these streets.
Yeah.
But probably not until it hits those mountains. I'm like vampire rules. I will not see the sun. It's too hot.
Palm Springs, that's why you do shrooms at night. You shroom at sunset and then just like shroom out among the Joshua trees until dusk.
I've never done shrooms, but that does sound like the right way to do it.
Yeah. It's like the only one.
And Robert Evans, if you want to meet me at Joshua Tree, I will do mushrooms for the first time with you. I just feel like we'd have good conversations. I'd be like, who's the bastard you can't talk about? Is it your dad?
It's the cartel. But
Not that close to Mexico, we can't.
that's what I'm saying. I feel like he doesn't leave his ranch these days much, other than live shows.
I'd go to his ranch.
I would too.
Anyway, Paige, I am embarrassed to admit, like I wrote in my notes, is this not the next day? Why are they still wearing the football pads? But like,
What?
it was like days into the movie plot where I was like, oh, it's magical realism. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's true. I guess they're constantly wearing their pads and jersey.
They're always wearing them. They literally are the football players always wear football pads.
Yeah.
Because that's the Viking way, Paige.
It's the Viking way. they never wear a Letterman jacket.
No.
They never wear jeans. They never wear anything but their football uniforms. And I always thought it was a budgetary issue. But now that you've mentioned it, you're probably right. It is probably magical realism.
I honestly think that we are seeing the shared reality of our two main characters.
Yes.
And they see everyone as a very heightened like archetype, right? So like football jocks all wear football pads. It doesn't matter what sport they play. Every one of them's wearing football pads. And for like, like they put people in their little lanes and that's what they look like all the time. It's very funny to me. But I love that. I also, like, if you came up to me on the street and said, Todd, I thought Bottoms was trash, I'd be like, I get it. Because this type of movie isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
You got to be like down for the swing and just leaning into it. And some people aren't.
I mean, for me, one of the things I love about this, and I know I've talked about it on a couple other movies that we've done in the last like 6 months or so. I love refreshingly crass teenagers in
same.
movies.
You mean like honest movies about what it's like to be a teenager? Yeah.
Yes. Well, and I love a movie where one of your teen leads says to the other one, just like, shut the fuck up. Like, because that's what they would say.
Yes. Yeah.
I love it. Or just some of the insane things that they say throughout this movie, because it has its own language. It's not like a Diablo Cody that's a little more musical to it. And it's crasser than a Tina Fey.
True.
But it's that great sweet spot of like, holy shit, I can't believe they're saying this just openly. But it's so funny and so well written that you just end up loving it. Did I see this in the theaters?
I think you did. I thought you did.
I may have. I don't know. I know I watched it streaming along with The Blackening and one other movie on a day when I just had a day off. And I was like, we're watching a bunch of stuff. But I may have also seen it in the theaters long before that. So, but yeah, love it. I'm very excited to talk about it. I've enjoyed this movie for a long time. I'm glad you did. I knew you would.
You told me that immediately. I think what you said was, Todd, you'd love it. Mikey, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Mikey did like it because he ended up watching it. Yeah.
You know why I think he would?
Huh.
No songs. It's not a musical.
There's no songs. It's not a musical.
And he loves like that heightened shit. So he would. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I knew that scheduling wise, we were probably going to have to do an occasional episode without a guest.
Yeah.
And we were trying to debate which in the next couple weeks we would have to do without a guest. And I was like, this is probably the safe one because I know Todd will like it. I already love it. It's going to be great.
Well, I mean, I did love it. It is going to be great. Maybe we should just get into it and go through it scene by scene.
Let's go. We open very similar to Booksmart on a getting ready montage. And I love this montage because Josie, Iowa Debris, I believe I'm saying that correctly. I'm so sorry if I'm not, is getting dressed. And she has a sling, 2 sweatshirts, a shirt that says Spiritual Playboy, and like 4 hats. And as she's doing that, Rachel Sennett, who plays PJ, is just monologuing of like, we're the hottest we've ever looked. This is the year for us to finally hook up with girls. We've been out forever, so people know that we're gay, but like, this is the year we're actually gonna get girls. We're gonna talk to these girls. This is the year. And she turns and sees Josie's outfit and is like, what the fuck are you wearing? We don't even know where they're going yet. We don't even know where they're going. But we reveal that Josie will take off the hats, but keeps the rest of the outfit.
I mean, she does have like 4 fucking hats on.
Yes.
Like, it's a lot of hats.
It's a lot of hats.
It's literally a hat on a hat on a hat on a hat. It's too much.
And PJ is wearing, I think, honestly, the roast that the movie gives her is the most accurate because it's a very like fluffy button-up white shirt with a skirt that has suspenders.
Yes.
Which, if you watch all the way to the end, the post-credit scenes, at one point, Io turns to her and is like, the fuck are you wearing with the little suspenders over your titties? And it's amazing. But we'll let it lie. We'll get to it when when the other girls say it.
Yeah,
Because it's one of those things that I feel like you don't notice immediately until someone points it out, and then you're like, oh yeah, that is exactly what that looks like. But they're two very different vibes.
Yes.
They get in the car, they arrive at their school's like back to school carnival, which also, and I did not catch this the first couple times I watched it, and I had forgotten about the sling. Her arm's not hurt. She is wearing the sling as a fashion statement.
Yeah. I did not notice that. Okay, interesting. I feel like I have been lied to by this movie, and here's the thing. I'm here for it. Like, well done.
Well, she said, your arm's not hurt. You just have Munchausen's. And then the sling disappears for the rest of the movie. It's never there again. She never does it again. But that kind of stuff just cracks me up in this movie.
Also, I have to address it. I'm sorry. I know we passed this scene, but like when they are like monologuing at the beginning of this movie and we are learning who they are.
Yes.
Josie's plan to have Isabel fall in love with her at their 20-year reunion is like diabolical. It is like.
It's so sad.
It's like she is like, I'm going to go to the 20-year reunion and Isabel will have married a man and have a kid and her life will be terrible. So she'll be, it's like all about how her life's going to be
new.
shit. Yeah, exactly. It's so crazy.
And here I come to scoop her back up. I think that one's funny. I think the only one that's funnier is the one we get a couple scenes from now where she catastrophizes about what happens after she doesn't successfully talk to Isabel.
You mean her marrying her preacher beard?
Well, yeah, we'll get to him in a second because we're about to meet him. Because as they're walking through the carnival, we're getting more of their conversation of just kind of like what their lives are like. And they're like, yeah, this school has a gay problem. They're like, no, they have an ugly, untalented gay problem where the implication being is they don't care that they're gay. They just care that they're ugly and untalented. And it's a refrain repeated throughout the film.
Yes.
But they use as a contrast Matteo, who is like directing the school play and like everyone loves him. He literally walks by and there's just a crowd of people like, oh my God, I love you. The play was so amazing.
Yeah.
They run into Hazel, who spent the summer visiting her dad at the National Meat Association. I have questions. I won't get answers.
I assumed it was some sort of meat lobby.
I think it is.
They're like trying to pass laws that are favorable to meat.
To meat? A real meat cute, if you ask me. But they don't want to talk to Hazel. They're very dismissive of Hazel initially, which is sad because Hazel does end up being probably their most loyal friend of the group.
Not probably, definitely.
Definitely
She's
is.
like the one that makes it all happen.
Yeah.
And she can make bombs, sorta.
Sorta. She does the spreadsheets, I think.
She does the minutes for the meetings and sends
minutes
out
for the meetings,
follow-up
that's what
emails.
it is.
We know that for sure.
Type A. Type grade A for meats. But they're kind of just dismissively talking about her sling, where she's like, oh shit, Josie, what happened? She's like, I just ate shit. So she probably like fell at some point and is just still wearing the sling for effect.
Yeah, but Hazel's like, you like literally ate shit? Gross.
You ate literal shit.
Why did you do that? And she's like, no, what? Like,
what?
She just doesn't get it.
Right.
And then Hazel is like, were you in like juvie or something? And they were like, yeah, sure.
Hazel throws out like 3 other guesses.
Yeah, she like gaslights herself into believing this crazy story. I guess they don't tell her eventually that it's not true, you know? So like.
They do. They tell her only a few scenes later, but she still doesn't like spoil it for other people.
Yeah.
But she's like, were you at spy camp? And I was like, was that an option? Like, what is this?
I know. Listen, would you have gone to spy camp?
100%. I'd go to spy camp now as an adult.
Paige, you'd never know if I went to spy camp.
Ooh, look, if I hit the lottery, I'm not going to tell anybody, but you'll know because I will move into spy camp. Like, do you hear Paige? She sold her house and bought a spy camp. That's all she does now.
I like that in this world, a spy camp is something that exists.
I'm sure there has to be something because like, if I know one thing about people who are exhausted by their children, there's a camp for that. Like
Hashtag there's a camp for that.
Hashtag there's a camp for that. There's always some sort of swimming, soccer, basketball.
Yeah, like your extracurricular summer camps. Sure.
Theater, Jesus, all the kinds of camps. So PJ sarcastically is like, oh yeah, no, sure, we went to juvie.
Yeah.
Thinking that it sounds so outlandish it would not be true. And Hazel's just like, you guys went to fucking juvie? And like, before they can correct her, the football players show up. And first of all, their football announcer is unhinged. Because he's like, get horny for our Vikings. And that's on all the posters.
Yeah.
He's just like, rip each other's heads off. Like, he's losing it.
Dude, at the end of the movie, he says the other team's name and then says, decompose, you motherfuckers. I was like, good God. This guy is leaning. I think that's his last line of the movie. He's like really leaning into it. But that is like their shared reality. That's not at all what really happened, but that was their shared reality. And I love that.
I do think that's a fun reading of the movie. I've never read it that way. I've always read this as a stylistic choice that I just love. But the idea that we are seeing the movie through their shared reality and this is what they emotionally feel and experience.
That's exactly what I mean.
Makes a ton of sense too. Like, I actually really kind of like that.
And that's exactly how I read it.
Interesting. Okay. I like that reading of it. My favorite though is Jeff, who's like the quarterback, comes out. And the cheers that you hear from the crowd when Jeff comes out, that's how I knew I was going to love this movie and I was in for a ride. Because another teenager, someone else in the crowd just goes, Jeff, fill me with your seed! Just at the top of their, like, you can't not hear it.
Someone yelled out, eat my, in the words of the late, great Mikey, P-word.
Oh yeah, eat my pussy, Jeff!
Yeah.
Come sign my tits! Yes.
Yes.
Madness.
It's insane.
It's crazy. But after the chaos dissipates, Isabel and her best friend Brittany walk over to PJ and Josie. So they clearly know who they are. They just haven't like sealed the deal.
Right.
And this is where we get the best roast of PJ's outfit because Brittany comes over and just goes, you look like a little Dutch boy. And that's exactly what she looks like.
And I love how she just goes, yeah. Like, you got it. Nailed it. That's what I was going for.
You get it.
I loved it. But also, like, had she been wearing wooden shoes, it would have been indistinguishable.
Oh, yeah, 100. Like, she looks like the label on any sort of windmill thing. Like, it 100%.
I thought she worked at a mini golf place. Like, it's like that sort of a vibe.
Yeah, she could be serving coffee at Dutch Bros. 100%. But my favorite is she's like, yeah, see, you get it, Britt. Can I call you Britt? And Brittany just goes, I'd appreciate it if you just called me my name. And she just goes, Brittany. And she's like, that's not it. It was great. This next section is a little tricky. Because it is a little eating disorder shamey.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's really just Josie, like, just failing so hard.
Completely
at flirting.
failing
like,
so hard.
It is. I understand what you're saying, and you're not wrong.
Yes.
She, of course, doesn't mean it. Like, it's just like she is saying the most wrongest thing she could ever say to someone that she's trying to, like, engage physically.
Well, and to be fair, Brittany basically implies that she's going to ride a ride so that she can throw up, so that she does not actually digest the things that she has eaten.
Yes.
And PJ kicks it off being like, what if you ate it and pooped it out? Like, what if you did this instead? And she just goes, gross, which is admittedly a hilarious response. But then Josie picks it up and is like, Isabel, you're looking so skinny, who just beautiful but also skinny. You should eat, girl. Like, it's just, it's a whole lot of talking in circles until they literally are like, can we have your tickets? And they take a whole roll of tickets from them and they're just like, bye, leave. They're like, we're done having this conversation.
So pretty much what they had been building up that whole night in their minds to be like the beginning of the senior year where all they're doing is getting like wrist deep in their crushes.
Yeah.
Is like, that's all that's going to happen. And they just fucking failed at everything they were going to try and do
miserably.
all year. So funny.
Miserably. and literally within moments of arriving at the carnival.
Yeah.
Like
they just got there.
They just got there. At this point, they decide to leave. And this is where in the car, they're kind of having a conversation where Josie is like, that's it. I'm not even going to try anymore. I'm just going to have sex with Mateo, who's the other gay student that we have already met.
Yeah.
And then we're not going to use protection because we don't expect anything to happen, but then we're going to have a baby. Then we're going to have to become a pastor who, like, everyone knows that we're fruity and we're both closeted and our kid, Hezekiah, is going to hate us. Like, this, she's already named the kid. And then he's sleeping with somebody else, like one of the deacons, and it's everyone knows it's this open secret and we just hate our lives, and will you please visit us on Sundays?
I love that.
Please.
That's how it ended. It wasn't like stop me from living this life. It was like, this life is gonna happen. I believe it so much. I just want you to visit me in this hell I just created for myself.
Oh, please come visit me on Sunday.
It's so funny.
But as she's having this breakdown, who should walk towards the car but Isabel? And they can see that Isabel and Jeff are breaking up because Jeff has cheated on her again. And I love that his rationale is that it doesn't count if they're not high schoolers. And she's like, it especially counts if they're not high schoolers.
Well, because the lady is a teacher. Like, we come to find out that Jeff looks 25, and also that's his age range for like girls he's into.
Oh,
because like
I think it's bigger than that because, you know, Hazel's mom has got to be.
That's true. She's probably like 40.
Probably 40. You know? But yeah, I read this as everyone in the town is so fucking horned up for Jeff.
Yeah.
That like anyone will fuck him. Literally anyone. He has his pick of the litter. And this is kind of how we're seeing it. He's just like, everybody's throwing puss. Maybe I sign mom's boobs. Maybe I sign, you know, daughter boobs. Who knows?
Or both.
Or both.
Yeah.
Anyway, they ask Isabel if she would like to get into the car for a safety ride because she and Jeff are having an argument. And she gets in the car and he's screaming through their windshield. And he won't listen to either of them because he says, I don't talk to girls in overalls, which is, and he's like, this is not an overall, it's more of a coverall situation, but also fuck you, which is great.
I love that she had to defend her outfit first. That was very funny to me.
Yes. But from the back seat, Isabella says, just drive, get us out of here. And so she takes her foot off the brake. The car idles forward and taps Jeff's shin. And you would have thought you stabbed him to death.
Oh, yeah. Like I said earlier, he flops down like it's the English Premier League. Like, it's embarrassing how badly he flops right here. It's a good thing they didn't get it on camera so we couldn't do it in like super slow replay like they do in the Premier League. It's really silly. But like, I do think that this also plays into the we're only seeing their shared reality because like they might actually hit him a little bit harder than that. You know what I'm saying?
The only reason I believe that they didn't is because he ditches the crutches days later.
No, it's literally the next day. It's the next day. We see him on the football field and he throws them.
Yeah. I think it might be a day or two later.
Okay, sure.
Only because of like when, but still not long enough to have healed.
Sure, yeah.
For sure.
I mean, I definitely think they hit him harder than they show us they hit him in the movie.
Possibly, yeah.
But they didn't hit him hard. He was fine. He was still able to play football, guys.
He was able to play football 30 days later, which means they did 0 damage.
Oh, it was probably way sooner than that because they had practices and shit like that.
Yeah.
He was out there playing football that literally that next like scene when we see him on the field. So yeah.
Yeah, within the week.
Yeah.
But we cut to the next day at school. They arrive, and I do love that all of the pamphlets and everything for the upcoming homecoming game say, it's game day, get horny. And it's just a picture of him flexing. Hysterical.
It's great.
Like, so crazy. If you give this a rewatch and you didn't catch it the first time, listen to the school announcements, because the school announcements.
I didn't hear this, but I'm laughing because I already know it's going to be funny. Like, that's how good this movie is.
So Huntington is their rival school,
Yes.
which we will establish. And Huntington is irrationally violent. And so in this initial scene, one of the school, like the PA announcements is, and Huntington shot up all our books again, so no reading this year. That's it.
Of course, you hear the one about the lady who gets beat up, but I missed that one completely.
It's so funny.
That is very funny.
And she doesn't have the sling again. I do also love that they dress like they tumbled through a lost and found and were first to put on as many clothes as possible. And I think it's a really good depiction of like in high school when you're like, I'm going to try something new, but like you don't really know and your body's kind of awkward. And so like you look back at those photos and you're like, what the fuck was I wearing? Like, why was I doing this? And I feel like that's a universal experience.
If you've ever been to the subreddit r/blunder years, you know it's a universal experience. Like, I 100% look back on my high school prom photo and I'm like, why did I have tails, a cane, and a top hat? And then I remind myself, oh, because you were cool as shit, Todd. What happened?
Whenever I go back to my parents, I always try to find weird ones. So I posted, it was like,
I saw that picture today. You posted, you're right. That was in your story today.
it was like first or second grade.
You were adorable. Come on.
But yeah, I'm like full ears of popping. Like I have giant Dumbo ears. And it was before I had braces. So like, it was rough. It was rough in there. Just like a mouthful of like tombstones scattered across the field. So yeah, everyone's got weird years.
Yeah.
But you know what? Some days as an adult, you look great. You can look back and be like, we're not going to wear 14 sweaters. We're just going to wear one shirt. And that's fine.
Sometimes layering is the right answer, though. So don't discount the 14 sweaters or, a certain number of sweaters that you're comfortable with.
Whatever your appropriate sweater number is.
He said while wearing a hoodie indoors.
I know. I had my husband turn on the air conditioning before I came in here, and I'm in a crop top.
Yeah, I also turned on the air conditioning before I came in here and love wearing a hoodie. I just love it. It's like comfortable.
Anyway, it's game day. Get horny.
It's not game day. It's 30 days till game day.
It's 30 days till game day, but
get horny. Like that is like the ticking clock of the movie is when game day is. Yeah.
But they go into what I guess homeroom, and Marshawn Lynch is their teacher. And I do love that everyone's like asking them like, oh my God, how'd you beat them up? And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what's happening?
Oh, I mean, they walk in like they're either rock stars or serial killers. Everyone's looking at them like with such like awe and almost reverence, and they have no idea what's going on because we saw in their shared reality, they barely tapped him, Paige.
Yeah.
They barely tapped him.
But I do love that, like, there's an argument going on with the girls around them because they're like, what? They had to beat him up because like they had to protect their vagina. And one girl who ends up being part of their group of girls later just goes, my vagina belongs to the government. And we never revisit that.
I love that lady though. She's insane and I'm here for it.
Oh, every single member of the girl group is beautiful and wonderful in their own way.
Yeah.
Just chaos. Jeff comes in on crutches like he's never even seen a person on crutches before. Like it's almost more like he's trying to be a giraffe as opposed to a human on crutches because they're like out in front of him and he's just like wrecking through desks and everything and just glaring at them.
Yes.
Amazing.
I mean, but he's like really hamming it up, like.
Oh, yeah. But we cut to a PA system announcement because apparently last night, the Huntington students beat up a girl in the parking lot of their carnival. So it's like a real thing.
Yeah.
And she goes, and now my face is fucked, like during the morning announcement.
I honestly wanted to see her at some point, like to see like
and
a
we
lady
never
with
do.
like a, we just never see her face, but like to see like she's like a scar or something like that, just like as an Easter egg in the movie, but we never did.
Yeah. And what we do see though is Jeff break a beaker and then like mime that he's going to cut their throats with it. And Marshawn Lynch is just like, couldn't you have done that with your hands? Like, not that he's mad that he did it, but he's like mad that he broke the beaker.
Of course he's mad he broke the beaker. Marshawn Lynch bought that himself. because he doesn't have enough school funding.
Accurate. I also love that. What exactly is Marshawn Lynch teaching? This is the same thing as The Happening, where it's like, there's beakers, so is it chemistry? But then we're learning about feminism.
This is what it says on the syllabus page. Science, bitch! Like, that's the syllabus.
Because at one point it's feminism, but then in this first scene, it's the Treaty of Versailles.
Oh, yeah. No, I honestly feel like he is teaching whatever the fuck Marshawn Lynch is into that day.
Whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, he's an inquisitive guy with access to Wikipedia, and he wants to teach your kids about shit.
Whatever he doom scrolled that morning. Yes. But as class is out and they're leaving, Britt and Isabel come up and they're like, we heard you beat up my boyfriend last night. And they're like, you were there. Like, what?
I love that line. She was like, weren't you there?
Weren't you there?
You were in the back seat. Like, you saw it all.
She does leave the back seat, but yes.
Yeah.
And then who should pop up behind her but Britt that just goes, I heard you guys ate literal shit and killed girls in juvie.
and I love PJ's response to that was, and what did you think when you heard about that?
How did that make you feel? What did you feel about that?
She was like waiting to gauge what she should say based on like how that person felt about it, because she like really wants to get up in that.
Oh yeah, I mean, can you blame? Obviously.
Paige, if you don't know, I wasn't PJ in high school. I was like willing to say whatever. Like, yeah, I couldn't give it away in high school.
And then we get another PA system announcement. Could the ugly, untalented gays come to the office? And then Britt just goes, yes, that's you guys, and walks away.
Fucking brutal, Britt. She walks away like she didn't just drop a bomb.
Oh, amazing. But they get called to the principal's office for, quote, a crime against Jeff.
Yes.
Because it's been 20 years since their last football game with Huntington. Everyone's looking forward to it. And they're like, Jeff is psychotic. And he's like, oh, yeah, and girls get assaulted and they're always right. And they're like, actually, like, yeah, I'm pretty close to that.
I did love how they're like, well, why should we always believe you? Or why should you have to protect yourself from him or whatever? They're like, because he's like a giant. We needed to have like a vehicle.
A machine, yeah.
Like we needed to have machinery to fight him. Like, what are we doing right now? Principal, who is like clearly like trying to make it okay that his football player did something bad and force them to run into him.
Yeah. Well, and I do love PJ in this scene is just like, fine, I will buy a gun. And it's like, no one said buy a gun. What are you talking about? Like, what's wrong with you? Don't say that in a school.
Right?
Crazy. But he's going to expel them both, except that Josie is like, no, this is a misunderstanding. We were practicing for our self-defense club.
Yeah.
And he's like, fine, just get through the year until you're chin deep in every lesbian at Wesleyan, which is the third like women's college that is mentioned in this movie. But every time they mention it, it's a different one.
Yeah.
Where it's like Sarah Lawrence, Emerson, Wesleyan. And I was like, if we get all 7, this is going to be amazing.
Paige, you know what? Warmer and sunnier days are coming, and we can fuel them up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes, so no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. And with 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. So if you want to spend more of your sunnier, warmer days focusing on just enjoying the summer and less on what we're going to have for dinner, make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert and stay fueled up with easy, nutritious options from Factor. So head to factormeals.com/romancingthepod50 and use code romancingthepod50, sort of all one word, to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. So it's like 70% off total, split up over 2 months. That's code romancingthepod50 at factormeals.com/romancingthepod50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte Clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
But at that point, they're trying to tell Hazel about what has happened. And PJ has kind of jumped off on this. I'm like, let's start a fight club, because then we could like get all up and sweaty on those girls. And before you know it, we're making out with them. Like, let's go. And Hazel's like, well, actually, like a self-defense class would be great. And like, I feel like there's not a lot of camaraderie among the women at school. And so like, maybe this could do that. And in the midst of it, that's not what PJ is thinking at all. She just wants to get it in. And we find out that her favorite show is Entourage, which I think is fun. There's been a lot of Entourage on the shows the last couple weeks.
Yeah, we've talked about it quite a bit. I do love that, like, she's talking about feminism or whatever. They're like, PJ, you don't care about feminism. Your favorite show's Entourage.
Accurate.
It was just such a funny way to, like, throw that in her face. I thought it was hilarious.
So fun. But they decide that they're going to start this fight club, and Hazel promises to bring her cousin, Stella Rebecca, who books car conventions on the weekends, as, like, a model.
I love the way they say that together, and then it sets up the, like, almost throwaway joke when they get there.
Where's Stella Rebecca? She was booked for a car convention.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like, I loved this movie, guys.
I feel like this might be a nod to Mean Girls. There is a line in Mean Girls. I heard Regina George models on the weekends and whatever. Like, and it's a thing that Regina George supposedly does that we never see.
Yeah.
But it's that, like, every school has a kid that there's a rumor that they model. Like, every school has one kid that went to the John Robert Powers thing at the mall and has headshots, like, whatever it is. And, like, they're the special kid.
Right.
Special boy. Yeah. But it's Stella Rebecca here at this school.
Yeah.
So I think this might be the next day because they are wearing different clothes. Who's to say? But this is the scene where behind them on the field, we see Jeff just toss the crutches away.
Yeah.
So, like, at worst, it's 2 days later.
Right.
But PJ is like, female solidarity is not the point. Cut to, like, smash cut to her talking to a pretty girl by a locker and being like, I feel like there's not enough female solidarity at the school.
It's perfect.
It's great. We cut to, they have kind of assembled their club. And first of all, they're like, is it a fight club? And then Hazel and I believe it's Sylvie just go, I love David Fincher. And
Yeah.
you're like, okay, like, great. And as Sylvie walks away, they're like, she could be really cool if she stopped huffing paint. And they're like, she's never going to stop huffing paint. And you know what? Thank goodness.
I did love that they were like, listen, she ain't never going to stop huffing paint.
She's a magical angel and we love her. Like,
Yeah.
she's great.
Sometimes she just got to get light, you know?
Sometimes.
I'm assuming that's what happens when you huff paint. I've never huffed paint.
I have not either, but it does seem to get people high. I feel like people wouldn't do it if it wasn't awesome.
I don't think they huff paint like occupational. Like I don't think they're. Yeah. It has to get them high. I don't know what it feels like though. Yeah.
I mean, it also smells cool. But we cut to the self-defense club. Everyone's there. Everyone's sitting down. And they have no idea what they're going to do. It is their first, and they're just kind of fumbling through it. And PJ is like, yeah, we're going to start with some drop kicks, some tackling, maybe some light knife play, which knife play is kinkery, not self-defense. But okay, we'll leave it there.
I mean, honestly, it can be both.
It could be both.
It could be both.
Enemies to lovers. And then we're going to go to punch bucket.
Oh, yeah, the punch bucket.
We'll put you in a bucket and punch you until you bleed. And then we cut to Josie, who's like, but maybe first some stretching, icebreakers, a bunch of trust falls.
And everyone's like, yeah, good.
Good,
Yeah.
Cool. But then they ask them to tell them stories about Juvie, where she tells this crazy story where she was like, Juvie was insane. Somebody tried to poison me with rat poison. So I punched her until she died. But then I brought her back. And we had some productive conversations.
These stories are nuts, and I'm here for it.
Absolutely nuts. But it results in them having to demonstrate a punch. So Josie punches PJ, and literally right in the bridge of her nose so that she has black eyes for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, it breaks her nose. They
breaks
say it later.
her nose.
Yeah.
It's hysterical. It's so funny. Because literally the rest of the movie, she's just like, we're hot as fuck. And she just got like a broken nose and 2 black eyes.
Yeah.
And she's just like, get in this. I want to get fingers deep. And you're like, girl, oh, honey, let's get you some ice.
Yeah.
But they realize that they have to have an advisor or else their club is going to get immediately shut down.
Yeah.
So they decide they're going to go to Marshawn Lynch because they're pretty sure he's not going to actually show up to the club. And so we cut to them in class with him the next day and he's like, the Holocaust, it happened. And you see the goth kid.
I love that guy. I love that. This thing made me laugh so much because this guy's like raises his hand and he's like, no,
it did. It happened.
And he's like, okay.
And he's like, the Treaty of Versailles was one of like the starting points and you guys are going to act it out while I sit over here and handle my adult shit. And he's literally just sitting there reading like a horny, divorced and horny magazine.
I mean, it's got just a butt on it, which I thought was hilarious for a movie called Bottoms.
Yes. Amazing.
Yeah.
Sylvie is so excited from just the last meeting that she is like tweaking out in class. She's like, it's just so empowering. I love it so much. I can't wait to do it again. Just too enthusiastic. But who should show up? Isabel. And she's like, yeah, we are having a fight club. So like, if you want to like come join our fight club, the bell rings. Now they have to talk Marshawn Lynch into basically being the advisor for their fight club. And he's like, hey, girl, because he does not know their names. hey, girl, thanks for coming in. We have to come in. It's class.
Yeah, like we have to be here.
We're required. It's school. But they tell him it's a women's club about women's issues and that it's going to be about periods and long denim skirts because of feminism. So funny.
Yeah.
But they're like, you don't even have to come. You don't have to show up. You just have to be the advisor. And like, you can come if you want to, but you don't have to. Cut to that afternoon. He fully shows the fuck up.
I love that he was there every time they met.
Yes, every single time.
The dude is dedicated.
Dedicated. And they start with like, okay, some rules for the club. You cannot be late. Never be late. Late is awful. And then who should come in but Isabel and Brittany late? And they're like, except next time. Next time.
Yeah, these rules apply to next class. You guys didn't know the rules this class, so it's next class. Don't be late.
Yeah.
And I love that they like just pivot immediately after a minute, literally a minute of them talking about how you can't be late. And she's walking around with a mop, more or less, without the mop part on it. So it's like a stick with a metal piece on the floor. End. And she's just like almost threatening them. And then their romantic interests walk in and they're like, but like, it's fine if you were late this time. Just next time. It's so funny.
So they start out literally no plan. And they just start sparring amongst each other and shoving each other to the ground.
They're like, you come at me and let's just see what happens. The only way we can learn how to do this is if we just fight each other.
And Marshawn Lynch is like, I think we're going to have to shut this down. And we're like, no. We're going to figure it out because like, this is going to let us fight back because we're going to fight back against Huntington. And then she points out one other girl in the group. She's like, you're not going to get assaulted on your birthday again. Lucky number 7. And you're like, oh no, what has happened to this girl? But then we get to Stella, Rebecca, who's like, I'm going to reverse stalk my stalker. And they're like, what the fuck? What? Then we get to Sylvie, who's like, I'm going to finally kill my stepdad. And you're like, holy shit, what the fuck? Let's fucking do this. And this is when Sylvie loses her mind. And this is the like, yes, queen, slay. Yes, queen! Yes, slay! And it gets me every time.
There's so much anger in it, though. Like, it is very funny. It makes me laugh. But I'm also like, can we have just someone check the home? Like,
someone needs to talk to her and go to the house, maybe.
Just very, very concerned for what her home life is like. But yeah, it is funny in the moment because it's unhinged.
Oh, it's the actress playing Sylvie is going 150 million%.
Yeah.
And I love it so much. But we then get a montage of the Fight Club where they actually are like starting to do well and they're having fun and bonding and very much like actual Fight Club.
Yeah, they sort of like become a group of friends, honestly.
They're their own little Project Mayhem, Project Mayher.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But they're like, they've got like bloody lips and black eyes and they're just walking around school like, yeah, hell yeah. And then in the middle of the montage, they drop a scene, like a little cutaway, where Marshawn Lynch is giving a lecture on feminism. And on the board, it just says, feminism, who started it? A, Gloria Steinem, B, a man, C, another woman, ? And it's like, bro, what? No, we can't even, like, it would take too long for me to even just explain to you why what you've written is so incorrect. Oh, Magoof.
No one said he was a good teacher. I mean, they went to him because he wasn't a good teacher.
Specifically, but he's got a lot of heart.
He does.
Love for the game.
He does.
We get more of a montage, but Jeff's best friend, the like football player second in command, sees them. And they're walking through the hall. And they're like, I am actually really enjoying this. Or at least Hazel is. Hazel's like, I think this has become a close group of friends. Maybe instead of fighting one day, we could just sit down and talk about the things that have like made us feel like we need to act out in this way. And they're like, yeah, because like bitches love talking about feelings. This is a great idea. And she's like, no. I meant to like get to know. Okay. Cool. Yeah, sure.
But they immediately are like, oh, this is the best fucking idea you've ever had. And the reason they give for it being the best idea is like the opposite of what she was going for. And that to me is very funny. But it's not untrue. Like,
it's not.
They are not wrong about like therapy do make them horny in this, at least in this movie.
I do also love that the football player is like, yeah, so you're supportive of women, but mainly just the hot ones? And they're like, excuse me, no. But we cut to their next meeting, which regrettably, trigger warning, I guess, starts with who's been raped and are like gray gray area counts. And they get a whole circle of hands and you're like, oh no.
Well, because at first when she says it, no one raises their hand.
No one raises their hands.
And then she goes, okay, but like gray area stuff counts too, which it does.
Yes.
And so like everyone raises their hand and you're just like, oh God, this is so sad.
But we find out kind of the things that are eating at them, where Sylvie's mad at her stepdad for Friday movie nights, which could be sinister or normal. We don't know. We don't have any more information on it. Nothing we can do. Then we hear from Stella Rebecca, who has a stalker, and the police won't do anything about it, which, by the way, if you've ever had to try and get restraining orders against people, this is very real. And essentially, unless you are already dead or have already been assaulted, they don't care. And even after you've been assaulted, they still, spoiler, don't super care all the time. And you, as the victim, have to really fight to be heard, which is basically what she is echoing. She's like, they tell me to fill out a form online, but then I go into the police station and you're just like, oh, you poor thing.
Well, no, she says that I go into the police station and they tell me to fill out a form online, and the form online tells me to go into the police station.
Yes.
And then they just tell me that they can't do anything until he murders me. So it's just like really annoying.
Yeah, it's such a pain in the ass.
Oh my God. That is like the worst thing I've ever heard said nonchalantly.
Yes. And then we get around to Brittany, who's like, everyone just thinks I'm pretty, but I am a business owner. And you're like, all right, cool.
I have my own jewelry store.
Which does seem to be like a legit jewelry business. We find out later. Like we see some of the jewelry later on. But then we get to Hazel, whose parents have gotten divorced. And her mom, she says, is having kind of a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of strange people in the house. And it's really not great. But then we get to PJ and Josie, who, aside from currently having black eyes and previously having a sling, do not have a ton of things to share that seem that they're trying to one up the trauma, which you don't have to, by the way. It's not a competition.
Especially when it comes to trauma, please.
Yeah. But so PJ tells a story about juvie that is obviously completely false. And then Josie sees how it seems to be affecting Isabel and the other girls and tells the Hunger Games, but as if it was her and juvie.
Yeah.
She's like knives and like splinters of wood, and we had to like beat them to death for food. Yeah. Which like Isabel's very touched.
I mean, we even get like a slow push in on her, like signifying that she is like falling in love with her in this moment, sort of, or at least like becoming interested in her in this moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's a shame that all of this is a lie, like an insane lie that no one should believe. But Isabella's still into it. She's like, red flags, but into it.
Still into it. My favorite is that we push in on her as if it's this romantic shot. And then no sooner have we done that, like smash cut to Marshawn Lynch being like, it's been really tough because I'm going through a divorce, because he's like, woo, it felt good to share it.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
he's like, God, men need therapy. And they're all like, that
we
is
know.
the truth that you said. Football legend Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, you just got to run through your trauma's face. So Hazel comes home to find her mom fucking Jeff.
It's crazy. High schooler Jeff. Although they do go out of their way to say it's legal, so he must be 18, but still.
Yeah, they do. And they do at points go, this is technically legal, but still gross.
Yeah.
So yes, I would say he's 18. But we cut to them at a car event that Stella Rebecca is working, where they're also getting donations for selling old panties. It's not 100% clear what they're raising money for. I would assume the club.
I would assume the club too.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like a, what would you call it? It's one of those old fashioned like car wash / panty sales.
Yeah.
You know, the very common thing high school girls do for money. It was insane.
I mean, hey, how much will you pay for them? Because like, I have a lot of panties.
Paige, no, this is not a question
This
you
is
want to
dangerous.
throw out
It's
into
not.
the world ever. It's terrible to be a woman online.
It is, but I would really like a nice grill for barbecue season. So, no, I'm kidding. Please don't.
You're going to girl up them. Sorry, never mind.
Do you want panties with grill marks? I got you, fam.
Oh, I think they're just called streaks. Anyway,
oh, no.
whatever.
I was going to put them on the literal grill. Anyway.
You smell that? It's the wood fire grill that she sits on.
Musty. At the car wash / panty sale.
Yeah.
They find out from Hazel that her mom is sleeping with Jeff. But I love the way that Hazel does it, where she's like, he's fucking the crybaby, the guy with the balls, where he like catches them and he throws them. He's like the main guy.
It's like she doesn't even care enough to like know the football star's name. And I loved that for her.
Yeah. Well, and she's like, they're like Jeff, and she's like, I get hot people confused, which I think is a hilarious disease to have.
She's like face blind to hot people.
Yes. But we cut to football practice where Jeff's second in command is calling around to find out where they were in juvie this summer, which, by the way, you could not really do because most of those records are sealed.
I mean, yeah, of course. But I mean, it still like works within the story because we're just watching their shared reality. Yeah.
Yeah. No one, you don't question it. But Isabel and Josie go on like a little milkshake date. And in the middle of it, she's like, by the way, Jeff is cheating on you. He's sleeping with our friend's mom. And it's technically legal, but nasty.
Isabel's reaction to this is like so good, but like a little unhinged. It's so fun.
I love a weird cry.
Me too.
I love a weird cry.
And it is a
like,
weird one.
Where she's like banging her head on the table and Josie's like, oh no. Like, oh God, what have I done?
Yeah.
Like, oh no. We cut to the lunch line the next day where Jeff is getting his lunch, but the lunch lady accidentally puts pineapple on it. And his second in command freaks out because he's like, hey, what if we told you he has a huge pineapple allergy? No pineapple. And he points to a poster that says pineapples are worse than drugs.
And then he like throws the pineapple cup and goes, eat a dick, Janice, or whatever. It's so funny.
But then it lands on the kid who's like, that's it. I wasn't going to do it, but now I am. And he just opens a blank piece of paper and just says, plan to blow up school. And we never see him again until another explosion happens at the end of the movie.
And he's like, damn it, that's what I was going to do. And I thought that shit was
my
so
thing.
funny. Yeah.
So funny. I mean, thankfully no one got hurt.
Right. It was just a tree.
Yeah. So Isabel walks in and I love the mural behind the football players eating at like a head table where it's like like Adam touching God's finger, except it's Jeff with a football handing it off to Jeff, who is also God. It's madness and I love it.
It's perfect. Like that is just how these two main characters see the world. And like not incorrectly, the world somewhat worships like that type of person, right? Like the jock, football star or whatever. And I love that they are just like poking fun at that.
Yes.
It's like very meta in a way I enjoy.
I love it. She confronts him and is like, were you fucking Mrs. Callahan? He's like, no, I was helping her with her taxes. And they're like, aren't you in 8th grade algebra? Like, he is a senior.
But I mean, like, cut to him helping her with, they're like on TurboTax.com or whatever. And he's like,
clickety,
what does your
click.
W-2 say? Cool. When are we going to get back to the nailing ya?
It poured it in on its own, and it's got your max calculation right here. But he says, I don't know what you're saying because I don't know how to read. And then Isabel says, she's saying it directly to your face. And he's like, that usually works, which is crazy.
I mean, for a second, I was like, I guess he doesn't. Oh, wait, no, of course.
Wait a second.
Hey, buddy.
And then Hazel walks up and is like, I saw you yesterday. And he just goes, shut up, nerd. I fucked your mom. Like,
shit. When he immediately outs himself to insult her, that shit was so funny.
It is one of my favorites because it's absolutely where he's like, normally this would be the thing that would make people mad. Like, this would be the insult. But like, it's just, he's like, oh, shit. Like, immediately. And Isabel turns around and is like, that's it. I'm buying a gun. They're like, no, wait, hey.
Which is sort of something she says a few times.
A couple times. We should worry about Isabel.
Or is it her and one other person? It might be another person who says it.
PJ also says it.
That's what it is, yeah.
But she's like, okay, fine. But like, okay, we'll do like, toilet paper and eggs. And then Hazel's like, what about a bomb? And she, like a super small bomb. And I love that PJ's like, sure, Hazel, let's do terrorism, which to Hazel is a yes.
Because Hazel doesn't understand nuance.
Nope.
We've learned this about Hazel.
We have learned this about Hazel. So, in the car with Isabel, Josie and Isabel, like initially they get out, but Josie gets back into the car to be like, how are you feeling? I know you totally deserve better. And they're like talking it out while everyone else is TPing and egging. But inside, Jeff is like rolly chair dancing to Total Eclipse of the Heart.
It's honestly perfect.
One of my favorite scenes ever.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Oh, it's amazing. And we see that Hazel is trying to hook up the bomb and she's like, okay, 15 minutes, perfect, but sets it for 15 seconds. And she's like, oh my God, we gotta go. So as Josie and Isabel are about to kiss, the car blows and everyone's like, run! Oh my God! Like, run! What do we do?
I love that, like, they actually blow up his car, and then his reaction to that is like so over the top and like
high pitched screaming.
Oh, it's so funny because he sees it out the window as they're like scattering.
Oh God. And they get to school the next day and they're like, no one knows it's us. And it's very clear that everyone totally knows it was them, like immediately. And I love that the second command is like, Jeffrey needed a new vehicle, so thank you. But they meet up and they're like, I think we got to break up the club because like they're going to find out. And, I'm going to miss you guys and, whatever. But PJ is like, no, we can't because like, we still have to like make out with you basically. And Hazel is like, hey, look, I know you didn't get what you wanted, but like a lot of other people did. And this club has actually been really great for people. Maybe we just need to change it. Maybe it's not a fight club anymore. We'll figure it out. And PJ goes off on her and Hazel points out accurately. She's like, I basically ran this club for you. I did all the actual work. Like, why are you being so mean? And she's like, you don't have any fucking friends. And so Hazel leaves, which is so sad. Like, I hate this part in the movie. It's so sad.
It is very sad. I do like that she apologizes for this later. And I like the way she says it. She's like, I'm sorry that I said you had no friends in a room full of your friends.
In front of all of your friends.
Yeah, like I should have realized that like we are all your friends, like.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes. But as Hazel leaves, second in command football dude is like, hey, Hazel, like what's going on? And we don't know what happens until later.
Yeah.
But he calls her to the side. So Isabel and Josie meet up in Josie's room. And I do love that Josie makes the rounds like hiding embarrassing things in her room. Like a giant clown lamp.
The first thing she hides is like so insane. It's so funny.
And it won't fit in that drawer. Like she cannot close it.
I know. There's no way she's getting that drawer closed ever.
It's amazing. She's just like tipping stuff into wherever. But she and Isabel end up making out. And it is implied that they do a lot of things that night.
Oh, yeah. They definitely do.
Good for them.
It was this moment that I realized that we were just watching the Jason Mraz song, If It Kills Me, played out as a movie.
There you go.
And I was here for it. Love that song.
Deep Cut. That album is my least favorite Jason Mraz album.
That's my favorite of his. Yeah.
I think it's because that's the album where I saw him live and it's the worst concert I've ever been to.
I've never seen him live. I love a big band album. I was here for it.
When they played it live, they played it like a jam band album.
I would not have enjoyed that.
Hated that.
Yeah. I'd have been like, let's stick to the music as written, my friends.
Yeah, no, I don't need a 9-minute version of Lucky. I don't.
Colby Calais doesn't have time for all that, guys. We got to wrap this up.
She wasn't even there.
Of course she wasn't there. Because she left 3 minutes in, like our interest in the song.
Yes! Anyway, so we cut to PJ and Brittany are hanging out and they're kind of studying, talking, and PJ leans in for the kiss and Brittany's like, oh, I'm straight. I am so sorry if I led you on. That was not my intention. But like a very kind, I would say, rebuff of her advances. And they end up just hanging out and being friends, which I do kind of love that. Like it doesn't prevent them from still having a friendship. No one gets weird about it. They're like, oh, I misread. Anyway, back to this study.
You can tell she's a little hurt, like a little sad about it. But you know, I mean, they do just go about actually studying. And they were like, I sort of understood why she like thought it might be appropriate to kiss her because they were like being silly together. Their faces were close together. Like, yeah, I get it. But she totally respects the boundary, you know, like.
Well, that's why I think Brittany was like, oh, no, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I didn't mean to, or whatever. Like,
yeah,
I could see how you would see that,
Yeah.
So we cut to the next day at a pep rally where Josie reveals that she and Isabel hooked up. And the football players, first of all, bring out the cheerleaders, which is just a wet t-shirt contest.
Which, again, the shared universe theory is like, of course, that's the way they would see this happen. Like, yeah, it made sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. But we reveal that the football players have set Hazel up to basically fight another football player to prove that their self-defense class is worth it. And for a second, Hazel is winning because at one point she's on his shoulders, got her legs wrapped around, and just Marshawn Lynch goes, oh no, you got to leave the skin on his face, please. Because she's just like clawing at his face.
Yeah. But
he dumps her off and she is hurt, understandably. And then
it's pretty brutal, man.
He beats the shit out of her.
Yeah.
And the school just lets it happen, which is bonkers. And as that's happening, they're like, by the way, they didn't go to juvie. They don't know how to teach you how to fight.
Yeah.
Look how defenseless she was, which is completely out of line considering she was half that person's size and like had only been in a fight club for like a few weeks. Like,
I mean, and like also this is not like proving anything that they think it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, this is not a good example of it's a shitty fight club because she can't beat up someone twice her size. Like,
right.
What?
Yeah, it's not good. But that means everyone else in the club now knows that they didn't go to juvie.
Yeah. Well, or that they've been like lied to, or misled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that it wasn't about sisterhood at all. So they kind of leave Josie and PJ alone and they go off to help Hazel.
Yeah.
I do love that they bond and have like a sleepover with Hazel because I was just like, oh, this is so sad.
Yeah.
But PJ and Josie then get in a fight. Or rather, I'm sorry, they fight with Marshawn Lynch first, where he's like, it definitely goes into his divorce a little bit, but he's like, you guys told me this was a legit thing, and I backed you up because I actually liked what you were doing, and I thought it was good for all of you girls to spend time together. But no, this is bad. I can't be a part of it. They end up arguing with each other, so now their friendship is broken up. It's number 7 on the story circle clock. Everything's fucked up.
Yeah.
But we cut to later that day where people have written horny freak 1 and 2 on their lockers. Because previously they had gay slurs 1 and 2 and they were like, oh, I'm number 2 today. Like, and the janitor would like clean them up.
I love when the janitor just walks by and she's just like yelling his name like he won't even talk to her.
Ashamed.
It's so funny.
But we get a montage of kind of where everyone ends up in like the last week before the big game.
Yeah.
Where Marshawn Lynch is crossing out feminism on the board. Jeff gets Isabel back. They all have like a sleepover with Hazel so she can kind of heal and feel better.
Yeah.
PJ is kind of all alone. And Josie goes to see Rhodes, played by Punky Johnston, who is on SNL now, but used to be the bartender for the back bar at the Comedy Store.
No shit.
So there was like, did I take you guys through the kitchen to get up there the first time?
We went through the kitchen, yeah.
Okay, through the kitchen, there's like a bar in the back that only comics can get to because it's like inside the kitchen, basically.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's open, sometimes it's not. But Punky used to be the bartender back there. And I remember one time after winning a roast battle, she bought me a shot. We did shots together. And then Dave Chappelle walked up. This was before we knew about before he started expressing some opinions that people don't love. And he was just like, hey, took pictures with us and left. And it was the weirdest 5 seconds of my entire life.
Wild.
Anyway, so she's talking to Punky, or Rhodes is her character's name.
Yeah.
And Rhodes is like, look, you got to go figure out your friendships and talk some shit out. But more importantly, you got to stay inside because that other football team will literally try to kill people. 20 years ago, they tried to kill a guy and his dog. So, I'm staying inside.
Why do they gotta get the pets involved? I love that. That shit was so funny. But she very much is just like, hey, I know we're not on the best terms right now, but shit's gonna go down tonight, so we've got to be on each other's side.
Right, yeah. So Josie goes to the game to find PJ to be like, differences aside, we'll fight it out later, but shit's gonna go down. We have to help somebody.
Yeah.
Because we're the only people that can. So they start to try and create a diversion, and Hazel tries to rig another bomb, but it doesn't go off.
I love when she runs back and jumps into their arms and they all duck and then it doesn't go off and they're like, oh, hey, Hazel, I don't think it went off. And they're like, whatever.
Whatever. But so Hazel and PJ end up making out to distract people enough for them to kind of get out to the field and see what's going on.
That's why they make out. Sure.
I really I hope they end up together, honestly.
I loved at the end when they were or maybe not the end, but right after this, when they walk up together and they're like, did you guys kiss on the mouth? And they're like, yeah, and we could do it again if you guys need another diversion.
If people
we could totally
want
do it
that,
again.
We could do it again
Yeah,
if you need it. That want us to do that.
They definitely seem into it.
Very, very fun.
Yeah.
But they find a ton of tanks of pineapple juice and realize that the other team is planning on turning the sprinklers on and sprinkling the whole field with pineapple juice because Jeff is allergic.
Yeah.
I do love that when PJ and Hazel are making out, as this is all happening because it's kind of intercut, we find out that Stella Rebecca is like, oh, I'm gay. And then Brittany is like, I'm not. I just love gay porn. And then Jeff is like, is porn even real? It's just
Which, spoiler alert, no.
No.
So funny, though.
It is performers.
It's like acting.
Yes. Once they realize that it's going to be the sprinklers, they run out onto the field to try and carry Jeff off the field. But who's in between them and getting Jeff to safety but the other football team? And thus ensues them basically murdering an entire football team in hand-to-hand combat.
When they line up in the flying V formation and then run at the other team and then murder them, except Josie, who picks up Jeff and is fireman Carey running him off the field because the pineapple juice is about to come through the sprinkler system. It's so funny. It is magical realism to the max.
It's amazing. And it was the last thing I expected from this movie the first time I saw it because I was just like, wait, how are they going to bring this in for? And I was like, oh my God. So she gets Jeff to the sideline. They murder the other team. And then the sprinklers go. And his second in command football captain, vice captain, whatever, tastes the sprinklers and is like, pineapple juice. Oh, and he just slow claps.
He stands up and slow claps for them. Yes.
And he just says, this is the Viking way. We did it.
So crazy.
And essentially, the entire crowd goes nuts. The announcer screams for them. And I do love that Josie and PJ are friends. But I do think we killed a bunch, a couple people at least. And they're like, we'll process it later. Don't worry about it. Josie and Isabel get back together. The Fight Club is now friends and they're all together. And Sylvie gets one last yes queen in.
Oh, like yelling at the top of her lungs.
Before the tree explodes. Yes. The tree explodes. Hazel's thrilled, but we do get the one goth kid of like, damn it, that was my thing. And that's the movie.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what did you think, Paige, about bottoms?
There are new jokes that I find every time I watch a movie, which to me, I'm like, that's the marker of a good comedy, is that like, it is rewatchable and new things will catch you every time. I really enjoyed it today. I've enjoyed it in the past. It's a real fun, extremely crass watch. Love it.
Yeah, I sort of like you said earlier, Paige, didn't know what to expect out of this. This is not at all what I expected, but man, did I love it. Like, I was so blown away at how fun and silly it was, and still had like this really great sort of emotional core of a like movie underneath the very heightened nature of it. You know, and I think it's a lot like Booksmart in the sense that it really is about like a coming of age for these two main characters. But I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Enjoyed it a lot.
But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, here it is with your fun facts.
Bottoms fun facts. So Marshawn Lynch was initially unsure about accepting the role, but ultimately took it as a way to, in his words, he's talked about this in a couple interviews, rewrite the regret of mishandling his younger sister coming out to him in high school. He says that he really regrets the reaction he had at the time, and he felt like this could, at least for him, make him feel better about the ways he has changed and matured and grown. I would assume or hope that he has repaired that relationship with his younger sister, and this was just kind of extra for him, but yeah, that's ultimately why he took the role in the movie.
That's like really sweet. I love that for him. And hopefully that he has sort of reconciled. That'd be great.
Yeah. So Io and Rachel were roommates at NYU. And then Emma Seligman, who co-wrote and co-produced this, also attended NYU at the same time. So they were like a group of girlfriends wrote this movie, which I think is really fun.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch improvised most of his lines.
That doesn't surprise me with what we see in the credits, right?
Yes.
Because it's like they were like, all right, give us 4 more lines that mean something like this, right? And man, we see him do like a few different tellings of the same sort of line, and they're all fire. They're all so good.
They're all fire. So Io as Josie and Havana Rosalou as Isabel. The first time they study at that diner when they go have milkshakes, the diner is called But I'm a Diner, which is a reference to But I'm a Cheerleader.
I thought so.
Yeah, the waitress that serves them is named Natasha, presumably after Natasha Lyonne, the star of But I'm a Cheerleader. Because the film is kind of magical realism, it is set present day, but the wardrobe and settings range from the 70s to the 2000s and also include everyone wearing their football pads all the time. Aside from one person using a flip phone, no smartphones are used or seen in the movie, which is kind of unique.
That is very unique for, since they came out. So yeah, that's kind of cool.
So Josie's speech when she's talking about getting married to Mateo and becoming a pastor's wife was all improvised by Io Adebri.
Really?
So that's just a stream of consciousness.
That is she goes so deep into that ad lib. Like she's like 20 years deep. She's essentially describing like what Isabel's life was going to be like at the 20-year reunion.
Yes.
Right? At the very beginning, but it's her life now. I don't know. The shit. Well done. So good.
Yes. So Marshawn Lynch got this script after the casting team saw him in Murderville. I don't know if you remember Murderville from 2022.
Of course I remember Murderville. And of course I remember this episode. He was so good in it.
It's my favorite episode. And I loved that they did a Murderville holiday edition and brought him back again.
Of course.
So good.
Yeah.
The poster art for the movie was modeled after the poster for Revenge of the Nerds and the poster for The Breakfast Club. So it is meant to exactly kind of mimic those 80s teen comedies, for sure. According to Emma Seligman, when the actress who played Sylvie, Summer Joy Campbell, filmed her Yes, Queen Slay, She was so committed that she ruined her voice after screaming so hard, and it became one of the director's favorite scenes from the film.
I mean, you can hear it.
She's gonna pop a head vein.
You can hear her voice going in that scene. Like,
so good.
that rage comes from something deep.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The instrumental beat for the cheerleaders pep rally dance is Toxic by Britney Spears, just played like via marching band.
I did notice that because my marching band did shit like that too. So I was like, oh, I recognize this.
Yeah. I'll let this be the last one. So in Brazil, when this was released, it was informally referred to as passivonas, which means big bottoms in Brazilian Portuguese, but bottoms as in intercourse, similar to Spanish, where if you are, let's call it a receiver in intercourse, the word for that in some cases is pasiva. So passivonas would essentially be bottoms. But that is very much not what the story is about. So they eventually gave it the title Clube de Luta para Menaninas. I can't speak Portuguese, I'm sorry.
I can't either, so.
Yeah. Fight Club for Girls, which was not well received. And after user complaints, Prime Video just called it Bottoms in English to satisfy all parties. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Bottoms?
I'm going to say this is about $15 million.
Okay, you're not far off, although it was $11.2 million. Now, this movie came out on August 25th, 2023, so just last year, and it was only in 10 theaters the weekend it came out. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, the weekend it came out, it only brought in $461,000. That's a great per theater average, though.
Yeah.
Like, normally you'll see, like, for, like, brand new movies coming out, a $4,000, $3,000 per theater average, and $46,000 theater average is amazing. I would say its real nationwide release was its second week, which is the week of September 1st. It was in 715 theaters and was 7th that weekend. But to put it sort of in time, it was up against The Equalizer 3, that was number 1 that weekend. Barbie, that had been out for 7 weeks, was still number 2. Blue Beetle was number 3. Gran Turismo was number 4. And Oppenheimer was 5. Bottoms was 7. So it was just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, and then Bottoms. So it went all the way from not even like on the chart to 7th in its second week. But what do you think? And I'm just going to ask you for like the whole time period domestic. What do you think it brought in the 8 weeks it was in theaters domestically?
Yeah, it was not in theaters long because it went almost immediately to streaming. In fact, it only actually came out in theaters here, the UK, and the US. Everywhere else, it went directly to streaming.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this probably only made about 2 to 3 million in theaters.
Oh, man, Paige, I am so happy to tell you it did way better.
Oh, that's great.
Paige, it made $3 million in that September 1st weekend.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, okay. Anyway, domestically, it made just over $12 million. Internationally, it made $937,000. So it was almost $13 million at $12.9 million is what it brought in. A little bit more than the budget. And of course, it's on streaming and you can they've gotten money for that too. I'm sure it's made enough money. I would love to see what these people do next because this slapped and I loved it.
So they have 2 other films.
Well, and one of them they made for like $200,000. I was doing some research.
Yeah, Shiva Baby.
Yeah, Shiva Baby. So like I haven't seen it, but man, I want to check it out.
I've heard good things about Shiva Baby.
Yeah, I'm sure it's good. But that's your box office. So Paige, do you want to hit us with that romance scale?
Sure. The romance scale is a scale of how romantic we found the movie today on a scale of 1 to 4 because Mikey insisted and we honor his memory.
God rest his soul.
Todd, how romantic do you think this movie is?
Man, I love this movie. I don't super find it romantic just because it's more like a coming of age. But, so I'm going to say a 1, but I really like it.
Yeah, more coming of age. I would say 1 as well. And probably 1 on the Lion Roar scale, but I also loved it.
Yeah, same.
And that's your romance scale.
Yeah, so this week, Paige, I made you watch Bottoms. What are you going to make us all watch next week?
So for next week, we are doing the classic, The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Todd has never seen it. I am so excited. It's going to be amazing. So that's your homework for next week. Todd, do you have any reviews for us?
I do, because I just looked one up. So this review comes from Christy, 1983-4. Maybe she was born in 1983 in the month of April. Who knows? But they say, very wonderful podcast. I have just started listening a couple weeks ago, and I haven't been able to stop. I love the song you sing at the start of every podcast. I'm not 100% sure which one she's talking about, Paige, because your sister and dad have done quite a few for us, but it's one of those. You guys are so much fun to listen to, and thanks so much for reviewing all of my favorite movies. So, Christine, thank you so much for listening, and we're glad you enjoy the podcast and the songs that Paige's family does.
Yay.
For us. I will now read you a Spotify comment that came out on our most recent The Notebook episode. And this one comes from Justin Storm, and he says, the fact that Todd's sequel name of Trapper Keeper went unacknowledged is a crime.
Instead of The
And
Notebook.
I agree. Justin Storm, I agree. But if you want to have me read your review or Spotify comment, leave us a review or Spotify comment, and I'll do just that. Anyway, close it down, Paige.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
To completion. I'm going to back up from the mic for a second and scare all the animals in my house.
Okay, do it.
Yes, Queen! Slay! Sorry, Natalie. Bye.